Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I want to go over some things you should be doing immediately after beating the main campaign of the First Descendant, which will make your life a lot easier as you transition to hard mode content. And all of this can be done before you even attempt the Hangman Void Intercept battle, so I highly recommend doing so, as it'll help your account tremendously. Now, first and foremost, make sure you're going to Cillian and upgrading your mods. This is pretty standard and you should have been doing it throughout the game, but if you have not, now is a very important time to do so. Enemies are going to start hitting significantly harder, so you want to make sure your HP and defense are high enough to survive in hard mode content. Otherwise, you're going to be going down quite a bit, and it can be incredibly frustrating. After you focus on HP and defense first, don't worry about shields. They're not super effective outside of just playing Kyle. Worry about HP and defense first, then you can focus on your skills and all that kind of good stuff, increasing your other abilities once you have your HP and defense up high enough. Then also keep in mind, you're going to want to upgrade your sub-module. This is going to actually increase the max module capacity, and also upgrade your Transcendent mod if you're using one, because this is going to reduce its mod cost overall. You want to free up as much slots as possible because the mods cost a ton of mod slots once you start upgrading them to higher levels. Another way to help with this is you're going to be using energy activators to increase your max mod slots. Just keep in mind, these are very limited. When you first get to the end game, you're going to have to farm these. It can be very time consuming, so use them in a smart manner. Make sure you're only upgrading 1 or 2 characters at a time. Otherwise, your builds are not going to be quite as good as they could possibly be. Then you're also going to be assigning module socket types by using your crystallization catalysts. Now, again, these are going to be somewhat difficult to obtain immediately after making your mod slots, or after getting to endgame and getting to hard mode. But also keep in mind, when you select a mod slot, you're really going to want to use the mod socket types that match the mods you're going to be using with your endgame builds. You don't want to just toss any of them on there and then you don't use that mod socket type, and it's going to be frustrating. Plus, again, your crystallization catalysts are not going to be super easy to obtain early on, so you're going to want to make sure that you are using them smartly and focusing on the mod socket types that are going to help you out the most overall. Now you're going to want to start farming some level 100 gear. That can only be obtained through hard mode content. So my recommendation is to go to Kingston. There's a side quest that you can do that essentially tasks you with doing a hard mode mission in Kingston. They're still relatively easy overall, especially if you have a high enough HP and defense. You can do them relatively quickly, get a few pieces of level 100 gear. Even if it isn't the best gear, you can take it then to your weapon workbench, and you're going to be able to level it up. There are a few items you need in order to do so. If you haven't been crafting them already, make sure you are crafting a precision phase exchanger. This is going to allow you to upgrade your ultimate gear. If you have legendary gear you want to upgrade, use a regular phase exchanger, but also make sure you have your adjustment control access and then fine adjustment control access crafted as well, because those are going to be how you're going to change the perks on your weapons once they are level 100. So once you have a level 100 piece of gear, you can take it to the weapon level transmission on the workbench and upgrade one of your ultimate weapons, or even one of your rare weapons as well, if that's what you want to do. Say you have something like a tamer you want to use, you can upgrade that at any point. Just remember, once you do so, your perks on that weapon are going to be for whatever level it already was. So say it was a level 1 weapon, you're going to have level 1 perks. So you're going to want to do a weapon readjustment at that point. And once you start doing the weapon readjustments, they can be quite expensive once you select the actual perk you want to lock. So make sure you have as many of those fine adjustment control accesses and just the adjustment control access in general as possible, because it can get quite costly. But make sure you're doing that on every level you upgrade. If you don't, you're going to be in for a problem because your perks on your weapon are going to really struggle. So keep that in mind for sure. Next up, you're going to want to start farming. So there are a couple of things that you can farm right away. One being, if you go over to the Infiltration Operations Terminal, you can select hard mode missions and you can actually farm specific Transcendent mods for the character that you want to use. There's essentially one per character that is available to farm, and if one of those matches the build that you want to make, it is the perfect opportunity to do so. These operations are time consuming, but not overly difficult, so keep that in mind for sure. Another thing that you're going to want to farm early on is the Tamer LMG, which is the best weapon, especially best rare weapon for farming bosses in the entire game, and you can get them across multiple different element types. In order to do so, you're going to go to the Remnant in Agna Desert. You can travel there and go to the Abandoned Reconstruction Site mission. This mission is actually quite easy if you have a decent build, and once you start farming this, it's a 50% chance drop rate for the Tamer, and it can drop again with different elements. This weapon is tremendous. You'll also get additional level 100 drops, so you'll get not only different weapons for upgrading, and also you'll get the reactors, external components, and all that kind of good stuff you might be looking for. So overall, that's the best farm in hard mode, I think, early on, in order to get weapons that you will want to use for bosses, but also you'll get a bunch of different items as well. It's not overly difficult, and I highly recommend doing so. It is going to make your life significantly easier if you have a bunch of Tamers ready to go for the various boss fights, because it absolutely melts. I wouldn't be surprised if it does get nerfed overall in general, just because of how strong it is. It almost makes some of the ultimate weapons obsolete, which can be very, very frustrating. That being said, while it's still very good, I would highly recommend farming it, and it's good for pretty much any build you might be considering with your character. Now, some other things to keep in mind as you are on hard mode difficulty is that you're going to want to eventually start farming for different ultimate weapons and different characters as well. All of that can be done once your build is perfected and once you have a way to essentially beat the hard mode bosses in the smallest amount of time. Trying to farm them while they are taking a long time is not the most efficient process. Instead, work on your build first, perfect your base characters that you already have, and then from there, once you have them down so that way you can beat these hard mode bosses in just a couple minutes, that's when you want to make the transition into farming those bosses and trying to get the items that you want as quickly as possible, so that way you're not wasting 10 minutes and not even completing the bosses. Sometimes it is not super efficient in order to do it that way, in my personal opinion. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Has this been helpful for you guys with the First Descendant? What are you enjoying the most about the game? Have you beaten the campaign? Did you enjoy the campaign overall? I thought it was okay, not so bad, not so great, but overall I'm enjoying the game and I can't wait to make more content for it. Let me know in the comments down below. My name is JoPa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.